In 1996, people in this state voted to allow marijuana to be used for medicinal purposes and a subsequent state law that provided for collective cultivation. Well, now the county district attorney says that all dispensaries in the county are operating illegally. Based on a state Supreme Court decision last year, Steve Cooley and city attorney Carmen Chutanich have concluded that over-the-counter sales are illegal. Most, if not all, the dispensaries in the state operate on that basis. Has medical marijuana become more of a problem than a treatment in this state, Charlotte?
I think marijuana should be legalized and taxed. We could raise some money for our city and for our state. And I think that it's unfortunate that the city has turned a blind eye to this, and now they're acting like the Gestapo. And I actually know someone who was working, just an employee, at one of these medical marijuana dispensaries, and the police came in, put a gun to his face, handcuffed him, picked him up by his handcuffs, took him to the station, ransacked his apartment, broke down his door, ransacked his parents' house, broke open some of the walls, followed him for a month. I mean, my God, don't the police have something better to be doing with their time? I mean, they act like he's and then Charlotte, he was released.
Charlotte, are you talking about someone who was operating a dispensary?
I'm talking about somebody who's an employee, an hourly employee working at a medical marijuana dispensary. This is what happened to him about 30 days ago. And I knew this was going to happen because we had a big meeting of all the neighborhood councils. We have a meeting every month. And the city attorney's office came to that meeting. And I could tell that they were going to go crazy after these medical marijuana dispensaries. And that's exactly what they have done.
No. They're not going crazy because of that situation. They're going crazy because a couple of weeks ago on The Filter, Fred had a segment where a doctor was smoking marijuana with his patient. Yep. These things are rackets. And you know what? We need to start all over. I think it's good to have marijuana for those who need it, but it's turned out to be a racket. And the situation you're pointing out is not the type of situation that, as far as the reason why they're going after these things. Start all over, make sure it's being used for a legitimate medical reason, and stop allowing these medical dispensaries to be used as a sham and a money-for-profit operation.
If that's the case, Leo, though, how do they sell the marijuana? What do they do to get the marijuana to the patients?
They need to have greater control, Fred, with these operators who are dispensing this marijuana. And I can't sit here and give you a blueprint, but we know the current system is not working because it's being used as a front to just hand out marijuana. We have to come up with a better program to make sure it's being used for the proper medical purposes.
They're also supposed to be nonprofit, and they're being used for commercial purposes, and that's what the city is objecting to so stringently. Some people feel that they should be prescribed through pharmacies. That's another possible solution.
Well, and wouldn't that make sense? I mean, if this is for medicinal purposes, you shouldn't be able to open up a place in your garage and sell pot. That's not what this was instituted as, Charlotte, right?
Well, I don't have a problem with that, and I don't have a problem with regulations like land use regulations saying it can't be too close to a school or hours of operation. I don't even have a problem with the nonprofit side of it, making them all nonprofit. But I personally would like to see it legalized. I mean, I've seen studies where it's not any more deleterious than alcohol, and I don't see why it needs to remain underground because I think we end up with more crime. We have, illegal pot coming in over the border.
We're not talking about making it underground. These medical dispensaries are being used for improper purposes. Like I said, when we had a program on The Filter a couple of weeks ago, we got doctors who are smoking it. That's the wrong way. Put it behind the pharmacy. Let a pharmacist hand it out.
All right, let's move on here. I think it's safe to say that we live in a litigious society. People are always quick to say, I'm going to sue you. How do you find an attorney? Well, you might find one like this. Go online to whocanisue.com. Figure out what you're suing for, and attorneys in that specialty will pop up. It is an interesting way to advertise. Critics will tell you it degrades the legal profession. Leo, it is your profession. Will we find your name on whocanisue.com?
You will never, ever see Leo Terrell's name on that program. It is a sham. It is frivolous. You know what? I went on that website today, Fred, to see if there was a section for legal malpractice. Conveniently, there's not a section on how to sue your lawyers. Lawyers already have a bad reputation, and this website is a sham. It's nothing more to encourage people to file lawsuits. In other words, there should be a website that would encourage people to avoid lawsuits, how to mediate, how to resolve. But this is a money-making racket, and the guy who created this website is making big bucks. It gives lawyers a bad name, especially for a guy like me who I think I'm a good lawyer. I don't want to have any part of this.
But, Charlotte, do you think that lawyers should have the opportunity to advertise their wares in this way?
Well, I mean, the Supreme Court ruled 40 years ago that attorneys can advertise. And, I feel that, I agree in one sense that it leads to all these lawsuits, and I don't like that. I think we have too litigious of an atmosphere right now. But on the other hand, it gives people who don't have means to find an attorney an opportunity to be matched with one. And there are lots of online services just like this who match people with attorneys. It certainly isn't the only one. But Leo is right that attorneys have a very negative reputation already. And over 50% of people, 57% feel that attorneys are really out for themselves. And over 50% of the people feel that we have too many lawyers. And I agree that there are too many bogus lawsuits that jam up the system. Even when they get dismissed, they still make it into the system in order to jam it up. So I agree and I don't agree.
You know what, Fred? Two quick points.
You get the last word. Go, Leo.
2 quick points. People can find lawyers through bar association, like the LA County Bar Association and the State Bar. And I'm trying to give lawyers a good name by appearing on the filter every week to show that there are good lawyers who have good common sense.
Leo, you're a darn good lawyer. We appreciate it. Nice job.
Thank you.
Appreciate it to both of you. Talk to you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fred.
Okay.